The girls clutched a teddy bear and a letter. The judge wasn't prepared for the truth. Imagine being a formidable judge, feared by criminals and revered by the legal world. But then, three young girls step into your courtroom, holding only a teddy bear, a kitten, and a sealed letter from someone you never thought you'd hear from again. The world watches as the strongest figure in the room crumbles in silence. Behind that letter lies a secret so devastating it shakes the foundations of justice. Stay with this story, and if it moves you even once, don't forget to subscribe for more stories that resonate. It was a dreary Tuesday morning, the courtroom heavy with the scent of aged wood and stale coffee. The judge, perched high on his bench, was stoic and silent, his gaze cold and detached as the next case file landed before him. Whispers rippled through the room, tense and uneasy. But the judge paid no mind to murmurs. He had seen it all: murder, theft, corruption, and worse. Nothing fazed him anymore. Until the courtroom's rear door creaked open, and three little girls stepped inside, drenched from the rain, their clothes too thin for the chill. The youngest clung to a tattered teddy bear, missing an eye. The middle girl cradled a small gray kitten, wrapped in a towel. The eldest, perhaps 9 years old, gripped a crumpled envelope, her lips trembling but her eyes fixed forward, as if driven by purpose. The judge frowned, his voice sharp. "This is a courtroom, not a shelter for lost children," he began, addressing the bailiff. But before he could finish, the girls walked down the aisle slowly, quietly, their footsteps echoing in the hall. The room fell silent. The prosecutor lowered his pen. The defense attorney froze. Even the guards hesitated, unsure how to respond. The girls reached the front, and the eldest spoke, her voice cracking but "Our mom died this morning," she said. The judge blinked, stunned. The letter in her hand trembled as she stepped closer. "She told us to give this to you, sir." The judge stared at the envelope, motionless, breathless, then slowly reached for it. The room was so quiet it seemed the world had paused. He recognized the handwriting instantly. His hands shook, his face paled, his jaw tightened. His lips parted, but no words came. The name on the envelope was one he knew, one that carried a past he thought was buried. Suddenly, the toughest man in the room felt like a boy again. The girls stood still, not crying, not pleading, just waiting, as if they knew something he didn't. The judge rose, forgetting his robe, the courtroom, everything. He opened the letter, and with each line, his strength wavered. The words pierced the armor he'd built over decades. The woman who wrote it was someone he had loved, someone he had lost, someone who never told him she bore his children. Now she was gone, and these girls, these quiet, brave souls, stood before him, holding a teddy bear and a letter, asking not for justice or money, but for a home, a father. The gavel slipped from his hand, falling to the floor with a soft thud. The courtroom remained still. Rain tapped gently against the windows as past and present collided in that impossible moment. The judge knew his life would never be the same. He stood frozen, as if time itself had turned against him, the courtroom now a silent graveyard. The letter, still open in his trembling hands, spoke of lost years, missed birthdays, and the quiet pain of a mother who kept a secret not out of malice, but out of fear and pride. The girls stood side by side, their eyes on him, not with anger or blame, but with a quiet trust that broke him inside. He tried to speak, but his voice cracked like parched earth. He looked at the youngest, clutching her teddy bear as if it were her only shield. Something within him collapsed, not loudly, but with a profound stillness. He stepped down from the bench, each heavy footfall echoing like thunder. No one dared interrupt, not the lawyers, not the reporters, not even the bailiff who had served him for a decade. They all saw it, the power draining from the robes, the title, the authority, leaving only a man, raw and exposed, facing his past. The judge knelt before the girls and whispered something only they could hear. The middle child nodded, her kitten purring against her chest. The crowd watched, but this was no longer a trial. It felt like a confession, not in words, but in presence, in silence, in the unbearable ache of reunion. The judge glanced at the door where the girls had entered, picturing the cold rain still falling outside. He knew, without doubt, they would not walk back into it alone. Not ever. The courtroom held its breath as the judge remained kneeling. His mind raced through memories of a woman he had loved deeply, who vanished without a word. Now he understood why she never returned. She was protecting them, perhaps from him, perhaps from the world, perhaps from a truth too heavy to bear. But now that truth stood before him, in worn shoes and rain-soaked hair. The girls didn't flinch as he gently placed a hand on the youngest shoulder. She leaned into his touch, as if she had been waiting her whole life for it. The eldest handed him the rest of the letter, the part their mother said he must read once they found him. Inside were details, photos, hospital records, school notes, and at the bottom, a line in shaky handwriting. If you are reading this, I am gone. Please do what is right, not for me, but for them. Those words struck harder than any verdict he had ever delivered. He rose slowly and turned to the room. His voice was steady now, calm like still water. This court is adjourned until further notice, he said. Then he looked at the girls and added, let's go home. Not to his chambers, not to a grand estate, but home wherever that was, as long as they were together. For the first time in his life, the judge broke a rule, not because he chose to, but because love demanded it. As they walked toward the exit, hand in hand, the entire room stood, unprompted, because everyone knew something greater than law had unfolded, something purer, more real, more unforgettable. This story is a work of emotional fiction, created purely for entertainment and not reflective of any real court case or individual. The characters and events are imagined to inspire empathy and awareness while maintaining full respect for the judicial system. The story does not intend to criticize or represent actual legal practices or professionals. All portrayals are fictional and dramatized for storytelling purposes only.